mission is to unlock the potential of private capital markets for entrepreneurs. And yeah, we're basically just trying to build the modern M&A market and ecosystem. And so it's an awesome company. I've been lucky to be there for 5 or 6 years now. And yeah, whenever you're looking for another gig, definitely let me know.
Well, I'm interested as a lawyer now. I'm a deal lawyer, so I'm looking for deal flow too.
Right on. I think seeing more entrepreneurs out there start with our education system. Right now, there's nothing that at least I was exposed to through high school or college explicitly related to entrepreneurship. There are some classes you could take, and increasingly there's minors or majors and comp sci, but overall, the core attributes related to becoming an entrepreneur of risk taking, being bold, trusting yourself, that's few and far between in the system. In terms of meeting more entrepreneurs, I think a lot of which you create your own luck. So I'm increasingly joining communities. I just joined Pavilion, which is a big community for, I think it's focused on tech, but probably unbounded in terms of people that could be, that can join. I'm a part of a few other communities. And then one of my big goals for the year is just to increase the cadence and frequency of my writing. Because outside of meeting people in person, I think it's all about getting your ideas out there in the wild. If you can inspire one person along the way, that's a big win. Schools like Lambda, there's a couple others that are like, online MBAs focused on entrepreneurship. And then like Elon Musk, for instance, just started I think an early education, or at least one focused on like elementary schooling where entrepreneurship is a core tenet. So it's happening, but it's way too slow. And you're right, there just has to somehow be a full court press, more people talking about it and caring about it for the government to start to pay a little more attention.
If you were to start a school, what would you teach?
Personal growth, that's another thing that just doesn't exist anywhere in schools. And I think for anyone to become an entrepreneur, they have to be really honest with themselves, be really focused on personal development and time management and all the other tenets that allow you to actually, run and operate a company.
Wow, that would really change America if personal development was a class.
And it should be.
If I learned about Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Lewis Howes, Gary Vee, so many more when I was 18, not 28, I can't imagine where I'd be today.
It's so funny you say that because my guy's Tim Ferriss. I listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast religiously, and I only found him during COVID. And I'm like, and apparently there's this whole playbook that every high achieving person subscribes to that I'm like, where was this in my schooling? I was lucky to have stumbled across, a podcast that has this whole roadmap and playbook for how to become a better version of myself. And it's just totally absent from our system. And I'm like, I got to get the word out about Tim because he's an absolute legend. And I've turned a good amount of people onto him. That's why another reason why writing, is so important, just getting people exposed to, this sort of thinking. But yeah, it's nowhere to be found in our current education system.
People are so afraid, including myself, in expressing themselves.
They are. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you force yourself, one quote that's always really stuck with me, it's by the founder of Habitat for Humanity, says it's, I don't know if it's easier or more effective. Let's just say it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than think your way into a new way of acting. And so, putting the cart before the horse in terms of getting out there, allowing yourself to get embarrassed and just stop caring about what anyone thinks, because no one really cares. If anything, they might think about you for a half a second and then forget about anything. But it's your journey, it's your risks, it's your embarrassment to sit with and build on. So, that's a big thing I keep coming back to is how can I make myself uncomfortable, and get comfortable with discomfort. I think Gary Vee, he does a really good job at cultivating this sort of line of thinking in everyone. He, two things that I come back to a decent amount from what he's put out is love the journey. Like, don't focus on the outcome one bit. It's all about loving the journey. And then B, document the journey. If you don't know what you want to write about, just write about what you're doing, and it'll resonate with at least some people, and inspire
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. And we can be so critical. Like right now, I'm self-critical about my lighting, the shirt I'm wearing, the background. So self-critical. We're our biggest critics. What do we do about that, Nick?
I think you got to be exposed to the right things and stop being exposed to the wrong things, if anything. I think social media is good in doses and not good on an ongoing basis. It just cultivates, this line of thinking of caring so much about what other people think. And then outside of that, just listening to the people we look up to, and they all say the same stuff. And so the more you just hear that trope again and again and again, the more it just gets cemented in your head.
What are your words of wisdom to juniors, seniors in high school right now who are stressing about where they're going to college and they want to go to Penn, but they don't get in and they end up going to community college? What do you tell them, Nick?
I'd say just like kick ass in whatever system you're a part of. I think any person you look up, I mean, there's as many people you look up to that went to a brand name college or a brand name high school, or, had a brand name first job, as those that didn't have any brand name exposure or didn't even go to high school or college. So I really think it's about do your best in whatever system you're a part of, find your own path, and pretty quickly just like get out there with expression, probably, find as many things as you could be exposed to that you might be really interested in. And I think it's so awesome that our economy and our world is finally caught up to the creator economy. I mean, that's what you're seeing with Web3. We finally have an infrastructure that allows people that are expressing to get the rewards that they deserve. And, it's been a long time coming, but I mean, if you're between 10 and 30 and you're a creator, you're in the right place. And you just got to either start doing that or build on whatever you started, in my mind. Professional setting, which sometimes gives people more anxiety because all they see are the people that, just raise 100 million in VC or just started a company or just, got into Stanford MBA. It exists on LinkedIn as much as it exists on Instagram, let's say. And I still feel like there isn't a social platform that cuts through that, where there isn't a path. It's just, what good are you doing today that you didn't do tomorrow?
Here's my recent idea that I love.
Rip it.
It's called shout outs. I have a whiteboard here with all my ideas. It's called shout out. And it's an online platform where people can see the upcoming guests on podcasts and offer them money to promote their product or service on the podcast. And there's a revenue share with the host. So, for example, let's say someone's coming up on Tim Ferriss next month. I can see that. Oh, Jack Dorsey's gonna, or Jack Smith is gonna be on Tim Ferriss's podcast next week. I'm offering $5,000 to promote my company. He's gonna say, maybe he's gonna share it with the host. And the host says, okay, deal, I'll split it 50-50. So now, and all you can say is shout out. You're not on the podcast. All you can say, and I have a shout out to XYZ company, and that's it. That's the only thing you can say.
Yeah. First of all, I love that idea. I think podcasts obviously are the future of media, or one big pillar of the future of media. And there isn't a ton of marketplace-based promotion services out there like the one that you're saying. I also think it's so funny that you said that, because one of the ideas I wrote down, and I just started to bring up my list, is a marketplace for endorsements of products that are featured on podcasts. So there are these health experts, right? And like, I would try a product just because it's endorsed by Tim or endorsed by some of the people he's featured on. And it's similar to what you're saying, but where's a place for me to search for product sponsored by Peter Attia or Mark Huberman, who are these big health nuts? It's kind of the inverse of
really good idea,
but very similar. Let's just start ripping ideas.
I built an online marketplace already called Forage. It's
I
live.
know. I know, dude. I mean, I didn't know if this was the time to learn about it, but I'm eager to learn
Yeah,
about it.
I mean, like, I raised $150,000, set up a legal entity, a Delaware corporation, and I launched this product, an online private marketplace similar to Axial, where companies can hire freelancers to attend conferences on their behalf.
That was a great idea. Like, what happened? You were focusing on real estate too? Did I
I
recall
was
that?
focused on real estate because the most of the buyers, the demand side of the marketplace, were real estate lenders. They wanted to hire people to go to real estate investor meetups. And
Okay.
then and then COVID hit and I closed shop, needed to graduate from law school, pass the bar, get a job. I had to move on with my life. But
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that Forge still isn't alive and the market doesn't need it.
For what it's worth, I have a micro pain point. I don't know. I would probably pay at least a little about it, and you can probably bundle it. But there are so many sick virtual events happening, things that I want to learn about, and there's at hours that I can't attend,
Mhm,
or I just can't attend all of them. And
mhm.
so, someone that attends virtual events to be a note taker, I would definitely pay at least a little bit for those notes if I could customize what events they attended. There's a event coming up at Pavilion, this new community I joined, that's about how do you scale business operations teams, and it's just at a time that I can't attend, and because it's all about exclusivity, they don't record it, right, and distribute the notes. And so I would definitely pay someone to attend that, and then hypothetically they ping other people like me, and they're like, hey, I'm attending this event, if you want a part of the notes, tell me, and it'll drive down the price per person. So if 5 other people said they wanted the notes, the price for me goes from $25 to 15, and then the note taker ends up taking home $75 instead of 25 if they just worked for me.
I like that. Two courses that I bought that I'm a big fan of. One
Ooh, okay,
is the Jordan Harbinger course. Jordan Harbinger is a former corporate lawyer in New York City who left and started his own podcast. And now he is one of the biggest podcasters in the world. And he has a
cool,
course about developing relationships and maintaining relationships. And really good
cool, great, thank you. What's the second? I
is a
might,
guy named Justin Welsh. He's a
yeah,
LinkedIner.
well, he's great.
Wow, his course was so good. It makes me really want to change my game. So, last question. If there was one thing you could do to improve this world, what would you do and why?
I go back to 10xing or 100xing the number of entrepreneurs that exist. Find some way to plant a seed to change the operating system, you know, really with education or a professional world, and just encourage people to get out there. I think that's the only way. Like, you could, myself, right? I could start an early education organization, or I could start a startup focused on climate change, but the impact that I can make versus inspiring 10 or 100 people to do different versions of that, right? They pale in comparison. So I'm always coming back to thinking about how can we seed and cultivate more entrepreneurs in the world, especially for the people that are most capable. Most people capable, I think, are the ones who outsmart themselves in taking the risk, right? They analyze and calculate all the reasons that they can go wrong, and that's why a lot of the smartest people just don't end up doing it. So um, I always come back to that.
I really
And
want to.
I'm changing Chicago. My heart's in Chicago, and Chicago's got a lot of problems. So that's probably the other place. Figuring out how to help Chicago and give back, because I love it.